News Nation.
Thank you for having me.
The time, but how does that give us a sense of assurance that we actually have a hand on this? Because the cases keep spiking, and within the past few days the numbers have increased considerably.
Well, the cases going up, the more tests you conduct, the more positive cases you are likely to find, and that's a good thing. It is better that, and that's why our strategy has been commended. It is better that we go after people and test them rather than wait for them to show symptoms, report at the hospitals before we test them. And that appears to be the strategy of some other countries. We have moved on from that strategy. We are doing routine surveillance, which is that when you get ill, you go to the hospital, you show symptoms, you can be tested. Then we are doing enhanced surveillance, which means that when we have reasonable suspicion that you may have been exposed, we go after you and we test you. And then we also have the targeted testing, which is that we identify a potential new fire or outbreak zone and we move in there to test. And so these combinations of various strategy interventions enable us to conduct more tests, and because we are conducting more tests, it is likely that we'll find out more persons. But that's a good thing, because people can still spread the virus even though they are asymptomatic.
So government is telling us that aggressive testing is to our benefit, but do you admit that non-adherence to the safety protocols is adding on to the factors why community spread still continues to be a problem?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the ways And in fact, the most effective way science has proven to break the spread is a strict adherence to the protocols that have been established, and we have time and over again communicated this. We have to wash our hands under running water with soap, use hand sanitizer, we have to do physical and social distancing. Now, importantly, we have to wear masks, especially when we are out there in the public. The only reason that you and I may not be wearing the mask today is because we have a screen, yeah. And because of the environment, of course, because of the environment within which we are operating. But for the vast majority of persons, and if you close from this program before we start talking to other persons, we will wear the mask. Science has proven that the best way to break the spread is an adherence to the protocols, and that's why we keep encouraging people, and that is why by executive instruments the wearing of masks has now been made mandatory, and so we must all continue to pay heed. Yes, we are doing well, but we can do better. Okay, coming from the office into the studio, I've seen people wearing the masks, but I've seen a few too who have not been wearing. It's important that we encourage those who may not be paying particular attention to wearing of the mask.
But have we gone past the level of encouraging people, especially if we are seeing some 200 to 300 plus or minus cases on a daily basis nationwide? Has it got to the point where we have to go beyond encouragement to enforce the measures?
We are there already. Like, it is an executive instrument. If you do not obey, you are breaking laws. You know that out of COVID-19, government moved immediately at the instruction of His Excellency the President to go to Parliament to pass the imposition of restrictions law. It is that law that enables the President to, by executive instrument, bring some of these directions. And if you do not obey these restrictions or these directions that are given, and you break them, you are in violation of a law, and you can actually be penalized. And the President has put the country on notice that the security agencies already know their job, and they are well aware, and they are prepared and willing to enforce the laws. And so we are, even now, we are in the mood of enforcement.
But would you say the police is doing what the President asked us? And we'll have the opportunity to come to the President's address on Sunday in a little bit, because he did say the police have been told to enforce the law with the backing of the EI that you just alluded to. Even today, we've seen people not adhering to the protocol. So why does it appear that the police does not have the muscle to do what the President has directed?
I think we can engage with the police. They may be doing some things that we are not aware of. I know that when we started off with the restrictions, closure of the borders and other restrictions, people thought that the police were not acting. Then we invited them to a briefing, and they gave us the figures of large numbers of persons who had been arrested, and some of them even prosecuted for breaking the laws. So maybe from my office, I may not be able to tell. If we engage with the police, they can be able to share with us what exactly that they are doing with respect to enforcing these directions. But I am clear that His Excellency the President was unambiguous when he said that he was putting the country on notice that the law enforcement agencies have the fullest of his support to enforce and to ensure a strict compliance to these directions.
So in effect, what it means is if you are outside your home not wearing the mask, the police can do what exactly?
Well, it means that you are in breach of a law, and that you can be arrested and prosecuted, and then the relevant penalties as prescribed by the law will apply.
And that also means that if you find somebody to have been in violation of that order, what would you as a good citizen of the land be required to do? Because everybody's actions is important in this one fight.
Well, we have to, I'm very excited about this line of questioning, because we have to be each other's keeper. And first of all, we can engage with people and encourage them and remind them and educate them. It's important. And some people, it may just be a small oversight. A quick reminder can bring them back on track. This is a new normal. This is a new normal. This is not our regular way of life. And so we are now getting used to it. And that's why education and continuous education is important. So if you find a neighbor, a friend, a colleague not wearing the mask, not social distancing, not washing his hands and using hand sanitizer, what you need to do quickly as a brother who has to watch over another is to educate, is to remind the person there and then. But when we find recalcitrants, that people are deliberately refusing to do this, then our civic duty will be to alert the law enforcement people to take action.
Weeks back, the president, when he spoke to us, said he may consider imposing further restrictions on communities that were found to have escalating number of cases. So with community spread as it is now, is government considering a lockdown of particular communities in a bid to stop the community spread?
Well, at the moment, I do not have any brief to the extent that either the president or the task force, which also advises His Excellency the President, that looks at the data, is considering any such specific action. But I'm well aware that the President, from the very beginning, gave the broad indication that should it become necessary, that those actions, and he added another layer of a curfew, should it become necessary, is more than prepared to do that in the interest of public health, in the interest of our collective existence. But at the moment, I am not aware, I don't have any brief that indicates that any such matter is under consideration. Even as I say that, for me as a person, looking at the figures, I am not too sure that the figures suggest that there is any such urgent need for an action anywhere. But this is my personal view. His Excellency the President is advised and led by the science and the data, coupled with the national interest and coupled with his considerations of our collective existence and public health. When it becomes necessary, I'm sure that the experts around the table would advocate and lobby that position, and the President will take a decision. As of this moment, I am not aware that any such consideration has been laid.
Now, before the President spoke to us on Sunday, the number of cases that we had were around 11,900 or so thereabout. When the President spoke, we got to know that we had actually gone into 12,000. So the question then becomes, does the President have information that the rest of the public do not have access to? Obviously he does, but we are being told that the numbers are given to us as and when they are confirmed. So why does it appear that we are always a certain number of cases behind until the President speaks and then the numbers go up?
No, the President chairs the task force. The President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Forces. He's the first gentleman of the land. He's the Chief Executive of Ghana, if you may. And so he sits and has a global view. My understanding of how the reporting works is that at the end of every day, the Ghana Health Service submits a report on the platform. But they advise the President at the meeting of the EOC. The EOC is the task force. I also know that normally, before the President speaks, there is normally an EOC meeting. Sometimes the President actually walks from the EOC meetings and addresses us. So sometimes people worry that, oh, why is the President speaking late? Sometimes, even on Sundays, that late, the EOC is meeting. So at that meeting, before they go back to their computers and inputs, they would have advised the President at the EOC meeting. And then the President is advised, and so he can speak about it. And then maybe by the time they get back to their office or get their computers to update, then it comes. But it is not a situation, as I know the way the process operates, that the President receives this information hours or even days or in advance. No, it's just that every day at 6 p.m. there's a task force meeting that the President himself sits in chair. So every day at 6 p.m. the Ghana Health Service comes to the Jubilee House with the technical team to report to the President, and it is at those meetings that they give the President the data.
So for some people who watched the address on Sunday and those who caught up with it later, one of the key items on the list is the fact that the borders remain closed. And this morning we had the opportunity to listen to the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration outline certain measures for the next phase of evacuations for Ghanaians stranded abroad. So we've been told that we're expecting 245 people from the United Arab Emirates today. What more does that plan entail?
Well, thank you. His Excellency the President, upon engaging with all the 64 heads of mission, and the last time I was here, I mentioned to you that the President got on the phone with his heads of mission, ambassadors and high commissioners across the group, to give him an idea of the situation of Ghanaians across board. And so we had an idea that there were some Ghanaians who were stranded genuinely and needed to be brought home. And so the president put the minister responsible for foreign affairs in charge to formulate a strategy of evacuation. That strategy is now being unveiled. It started off successfully, I believe, on the 23rd of May, where we received our first batch of 230 thereabouts returnees from Kuwait.
So those who are already here have been accounted for, but what's the next phase? We are expecting 245 from United Arab today, and then where do we go from there?
I have been advised that there are evacuations that are built to happen from now even until the end of the year, but immediately between the 17th and the 21st we are expecting about some 400 persons. Around the 19th we are also expecting some 13 people from Burkina Faso. We are also expecting some 195 returnees, our compatriots from Lebanon on that 19th. We are working with China, we are working with the American authorities both in Washington and New York to, by the end of this month, bring in some 856 of our compatriots as well. We shall keep updating as and when these decisions are arrived at. These are bilateral engagements. You cannot go into another country when their borders are closed and just move people. You have to have bilateral engagements, that border even on flight passage and landing rights and all of those, so they can open their airports for you. In those countries where the borders are still closed, they will still have to open the borders for you and give you landing rights to be able to do the evacuation. Sometimes people may need travel documents. You need bilateral action to get those travel documents as well. As and when these discussions terminate and decisions are made, we will publish them. But as of this morning, when we engage with the minister responsible for foreign affairs, he advises us as I have also just advised you.
Another key point in the president's address has to do with the preparedness to reopen schools, which started with the tertiary institutions, I believe, yesterday, Monday. And we got information over the weekend that the army was supervising some distribution of key logistics to make sure the schools are prepared. How far have we got with these measures?
Yes, that's an operation that is successfully terminated. I mean, we have been informed by the leadership of the military that it's been successful. You are right that the information you got is correct. The task force decided that the military should coordinate the distribution of supplies. And that's been the case from the very beginning. We solicited the assistance of the military because some of the places we have to go by flight, and we have the Ghana Air Force that has helicopters and can help. And so they have been mobilized to lead in the distribution efforts. The state has made provision for enough PPEs, including face masks. So we are aware that about 190 something thousand students, teaching and non-teaching staff, are going to go to school. Some 234 thereabout institutions we are expecting that will open. And so we have rounded it up to about 200,000. 600,000 face masks have been made available, which means, and these are reusable masks, which means that on the average everybody can get 3 masks. 900 thereabout thermometers have been made available. There should be enough thermometers to check the temperature of persons regularly. Soap and detergent has been made available, and so on and so forth. A variety of PPEs, Veronica buckets, and so on, tissue, single-use tissue papers have been made available, and so on. So the military has sent these to the various regional holding centers.
I'm happy you mentioned Veronica buckets, and I'll come back to, let me just quickly remind our viewers that you are watching #AskTheInfo Ministry. We are powered by GBC Ghana Online. They've sent us on the go, so we're on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media. Send us your questions using the #AskTheInfo Ministry. We'll find it and read it for you, and we will get on with the discussion. I was just about to ask about the Veronica buckets. Does it appear that there's an over-reliance on the availability of Veronica buckets as against the supply of running water through the taps? I'm not sure if you are getting my question. So there's a Veronica bucket, but if there is a tap that has flowing water, possibly the Veronica bucket might not be needed. And it's one of the questions we got this week. Are you overly relying on the presence of Veronica buckets at the expense of ensuring that the taps are flowing?
No, that is not the case at all. The Veronica buckets are more movable. The taps are more permanent, and we are talking about accessibility. And so if you are coming into an office or entering into a place, unless the suggestion is that, okay, we should move and fix a permanent tap at the entrance, it is easier and in fact more realistic to want to place a Veronica bucket maybe right in front of a classroom. You cannot now begin to put standpipes in front of all the classrooms. So it is more practically, it's a wise decision if you make it practical, it is accessible, it's movable, and so it makes it easy for you to get the water and to wash with. Otherwise, you may have to go to a bathroom or something to utilize the tap, and that can be a disincentive.
Be that as it may, the Veronica bucket still has to have water in it,
yes,
for it to work. So then the question really is, what steps have been taken to ensure that the taps or water is available? Because hand washing is a key part of the message we are sending.
That's an important consideration, and you will notice that in the wisdom of His Excellency the President, he chose to give us water for free. In fact, this month, my understanding is that we are this time that we need it for our collective existence. Anybody who will be seeking to monetize water because we need it now more. So I have heard reports, sometimes unsubstantiated though, but I've heard some reports that people have even increased the price of water because people now need water to wash their. If you do that, then you are stifling the fight against COVID-19, and it is not a good thing to do, and we must discourage people from doing these things. So I agree with you completely, and that's why the Ghana Water Company and the ministry responsible have been instructed, and they have been so doing, to ensure that water is made available,
right,
to the extent that where we didn't even have the normal Ghana water pipes going, they now started tanker services and delivering water to those communities, and so I think that's a good thing, and we are on the same page that water is important.
Now, in another few days, in about a week or so, senior high school final year students and the second year track would be returning to school. The contingency plan, we've been told, is to have isolation centers at each SHS. How far with that plan? And if any case should be suspected before it is confirmed, what's the plan to contain it?
Well, you're right. That's the contingency plan. That's one leg of the plan. The other leg is that those schools that even have some clinics, the clinics have also been put on standby. They have been prepared.
But prepared in what way? Have they been?
Provision of PPEs, orientation to the medical staff. Those are necessary preparatory works that have to happen, and for those schools that do not have clinics on campus, they have been mapped to nearby hospitals and clinics, and those hospitals too have been prepared, and so they know every institution. For instance, if you take the secondary school that I went, one of the finest schools in Ghana, the only college in the Volta region, the Bishop Herman College. What it means is that Bishop Herman College will be mapped to the nearest a health post. It could be the Margaret Marquardt Hospital in Kpando. I don't know, but I don't know the details, but they will be mapped. And so that hospital will be put on standby, they will be put on notice, and they know that when something happens in Bishop Herman, we will be responsible. There's also the Kpando Secondary School, there's also the Kpando Technical. All these ones will be mapped to a health institution, and the health institution will also be made, will be put in readiness. But that's even beyond the isolation center, which is on site, on campus. The isolation center has to be on location, and so that is another layer. So I also just adding to the information that there is a contingency plan, even as our secondary school final year students and the gold track of the SHS to go back to school.
There's a question from Efa Solomon on Facebook, and he's saying, please, what are you going to do with schools having only one boys and girls dormitory, especially my school, Kibi Senior High School? So some schools have only one, boys dormitory is one and the girls dormitory is only one. And I'm tempted to think that it has to do with numbers, if the day students are going to have to come and join them in the school.
Well, we have to interrogate the numbers. The dormitories have capacities, and so I don't know the capacity of the dormitories that he's talking about. But if this is a dormitory that used to take the entire school in session, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and they are able to contain all of them, then they should have the capacity to contain that. Now Form 1 is not going, half of Form 2 is not going, only gold track of SHS2 and final years are going. There should be some space from those who are not coming for them to be able to manage, I believe.
Kamani Abu Aisa is asking a question on something we've already discussed. He said, is Saudi Arabia part of the evacuees, please? So the number of the Ghanaians who are abroad, who we are expecting home, are you in any talks about those in Saudi Arabia? And how soon can they expect to also be assisted to come back home?
Well, I can go through the list and finish with those details. But Saudi Arabia is a country on the globe, has Ghanaians, and if they are desirous of coming and they have indicated that they want to come.
In previous engagements on this platform, they've told us that they've had their details taken about a month ago,
yeah, so
and they are still waiting for word to be brought back to them about when they could possibly be airlifted back home.
Okay, so they should just hold their own. Like I said, when discussions with sovereign countries, those bilateral discussions terminate and a decision has been made, it will be terminated. We cannot just take a plane and land it in Saudi Arabia without talking to the government of Saudi Arabia, without getting agreements with Saudi Arabia. We have done so with South Africa, we have done with Egypt. They have come into our country. They even brought some of our compatriots when they were coming to pick their people. So these are bilateral discussions that are ongoing. When a decision is made relative to Saudi Arabia, that is if a decision has not even been made already. Like I'm saying, I will need to refer to the data and to the schedule to be able to advise specifically what the situation with Saudi Arabia is.
All right. We have some questions that we've gathered from social media. They've sent it to our WhatsApp number, videos and voice notes, and we'll allow you to hear them now. Take note of the questions and then we'll come back and answer. So for those of you who sent us your questions and comment ahead of time on WhatsApp, we are putting them to the minister now.
I realized that our mortality rate is about 0.4%, which is great. Is the government looking at herd immunity? And if the government is looking at herd immunity, how will we look at herd immunity with respect to our health system so that we do not crash our health system? Secondly, with respect to the masks, I have realized that people in their AC cars wear a mask and then wear a face guard. I don't know if it's as a result of fear, but what is the government going to do with respect to educating people so that the cure doesn't become worse than the disease? Because somewhere in New Jersey a few weeks ago, somebody crashed his car because he collapsed because he was in his mask in an AC car and he collapsed due to asphyxiation, right? And somebody also had a deflated lung because he was wearing a mask.
My question is, Minister, and you know more eco school no from 3 4 no 1 and 2 and a good for no any grade for no omo be fie no say good for no come from 3 4 no say no my arrangement e dey for boarding house no because me say bed bi afa nipa mienu ewo a room baako nti say no ma sese e dey na enkora no omo akoda da se
the patch me dey first and ni note me kasa free Kumasi me patch honorable ma say bisa aka me bisa ni say ye man kora na ko school na ye ka say be mo nose mask 33 any sanitizer me person bisa say sa nose mask ni teachers no on be provide dia mo sa pepe ama anasa sa sanitizer no so on be hwe e da mo because ade we ya ye man ko school ye suro ho pa anti ye person ye hu say bibia de na kwa mu french on abo me question na me bisa ni say sanitizer no e ye sure say mu teacher for no e de be man kora na na me da say
me dey ne kwa me apiji danka me kasa free Kumasi na me pese ehuru research aban na ya fa COVID-19 no ho in the long term run research aban aye fa ho say bia in few na da yanim no how will the COVID-19 affect Ghanaians na sisi aso no how would our education the system how will it be in the long run na sisi ano nyantie say hospitals ne most of our hospitals no so yai overwhelm and also so no nchese be na ban no e fa won say the be COVID-19 no NG hospitals no embos medase
Midi a chance wa me kasa free Kumasi patro me bisa say matrons na omo no amofra na aduane no omo ko market a omo ye be test omo ko no omo ba omo no aduane o secondary school asam na making patro omo so ye be omo den.
My name is Apugi Jana Sinahai. Honorable, Upper East has recorded 128 cases, out of which 88 are coming from the Kwalugu Police Training School. Taking a cue from this, is it still prudent for us to open school? Thank you. My name is Apugi Isaac, calling from Navrongo. Mr. Minister, will students be quarantined for the mandatory 2 weeks before the resumption of classes, knowing the incubation period for COVID-19 to be 2 weeks? Will students be quarantined before classes begin? Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you for sending in those questions and comments. Garden City TV in Kumasi, thank you so much. You're carrying this live, and that somehow explains all the questions that we've had from Kumasi today. We appreciate all the questions coming in. Honorable Deputy Minister, we have one question about herd immunity and also on the safety of masks, which was in the first question. What's your response? What's your take to herd immunity and then mask safety?
Well, thank you very much. These are some very, very interesting questions, and I would have loved that the minister himself was in the seat, and but those I'm unable to answer, I will send back to the ministry, and I'm sure that the next time the honorable minister is here, he will do justice to them. But the concept of herd immunity basically borders on a population developing resistance to a disease, maybe because of one, immunization or previous infection. So that's the concept. And we also know that in Ghana, in most parts of the world, we haven't had any or many cases of reinfection, which means that when you are infected and you are healed, it looks like you have developed some resistance somewhat to that virus. But virus by their nature we know can mutate, and so but that's the whole concept of herd immunity. We are not encouraging massive community spread. We are not looking for herd immunity. I'm not aware that there's any such policy to want to suggest that we'll let everybody get it and let everybody let everybody recover, and then that no. We are seeing some large numbers of recoveries, which is good for us, but herd immunity is not a concept that is on the books and that is being followed at all. In fact, we do not want any infections in the first place. We want to break the spread. So that contrasts with the concept of herd immunity. We want to break the spread, and that's why we want people to continue to observe the protocols. Masks, I think it's an important question about the quality. There are two things: that somebody collapsed wearing the mask in a car and all of those. I think that quality of the mask is also one leg of his concern, and that's why I'm happy that the Food and Drugs Authority has been roped in, and they have also proven themselves responsive. They have licensed over 100 masks providers, and so we are confident that a lot of the masks that are on the market have been tested by the FDA and approved for use. Then there's the other one of education, which we are engaging in. We actually have had a campaign on proper public education campaign on mask, even how to wear it. Sometimes in our attempt to wear the mask, we may even end up polluting the mask even before we put it on. There's a way to even wear the mask. There's a way to remove and dispose of it. So there's a campaign that we at the Ministry of Information have been running on the proper use and wearing of masks. I think it's important. The whole idea about the wearing of the mask is, one, to be able to trap the respiratory residue, such as saliva that may come from your mouth or from your nose whilst you talk or sing or something, and also to maybe avoid residue from another person maybe landing on you and in your mouth and so on and so forth. And so if you are in your car and you are alone, then you may not want to, or at that point it may not be too necessary because you are alone. Maybe you are in your house, you are sleeping, you have gone to bed, or alone in your room. You don't have to wear a mask to sleep. That's not my understanding of how to use the mask. But if you leave the house and you are going to go out, or even when you leave the bedroom and you are coming into the hall to mingle with wife and children and brothers and sisters, and you want to wear the mask, that's fair enough. But when you go back to your room or you are alone in your car, I think that it should not be a problem if you can remove your mask.
Because of time, and time will run out very quickly. Let's go through the questions. Bed arrangements in dormitories. One of our Kumasi questions was on how the bed arrangement would be, because there's usually one student at the bottom and one at the top. Is that arrangement going to change at all?
There are strict instructions for headmasters and persons involved to ensure social and physical distancing.
Right, and then the nose mask and sanitizer distribution. Will the question was, will the teachers make sure the students get it, and how will we know that they have distributed them to the students?
Beyond the confidence that we have in the teachers and the headmasters and management of these schools, there is going to be strict supervision of these things, and the district directorates of education will be involved, the regional directorates will be involved, and then the various district COVID-19 teams headed by the district executives will also ensure a strict compliance.
Are we looking at the long-term impact of COVID-19 on the country? One of the questions.
I think that's an important question, and I can assure him that impact on Ghana, COVID-19 impact on Ghana is being assessed. And I know that His Excellency the President, for instance, has given instructions to all ministers to look at the impact of COVID in all the sectors. And we are doing work at our ministry on how COVID-19 has affected the information sector, including the broadcasting space and all that. All other ministries are doing that. We also know that the ministry responsible for economic affairs is working on a full recovery and resilience plan. And so, yes, data is being collected on the impact, and forecasts are even being made into the future.
What about the safety of matrons? And I want to extend that to involve non-teaching staff as well. Whilst they are on campus, they have to still go out and transact certain businesses in the interest of the school. How is their safety being guaranteed?
Well, again, we will continue to advocate a strict adherence to the protocols. But like I said, there are preliminary tests that are conducted every day. For instance, the checking of temperatures. That's why we are providing the thermometer guns. And so such staff, non-teaching staff such as matrons and so on and so forth, even teaching staff that may go out and come, go in and out of campus, will have to undertake these routine fundamental checks of temperature checks and all of those. And again, like I said, there's the hospitals that have been mapped to the schools. They must also come in from time to time to ensure that these things are...
There was one question on the 2 weeks incubation period, and whether students who are resuming school will be required to be kept isolated to see if they develop or they begin to show signs of the virus before the actual academic work begins. So will there be a 2 weeks isolation or quarantine for students once everyone goes back?
Unless I don't understand his question, no, there will not be mandatory quarantine of 2,000 persons who are going back to the school. Right now, I'm not aware that there's any plan to do any mandatory 2 weeks quarantine before they go. They are going to.
But there are foreign students who are flying into the country.
Anybody who comes into the jurisdiction, be they foreign students, those ones will have to be quarantined.
And that will take time from their lesson time.
Well, they have to meet the protocols that we discussed earlier under evacuations.
Okay.
And so when they are coming in as evacuees, if they are coming in as returnees, the protocols that relate to returnees will apply to them.
Upper East region, the concern was they are inching close to about 200 cases, and is it still prudent to open schools?
Yes, I think that we have all come to the agreement that until we find a cure or a vaccine, we have to find creative ways of living the new normal, living with COVID-19. We cannot shut down the system because COVID-19. The world was not going to wait for us. So we have to find creative ways of protecting public health whilst at the same time doing the necessary things. And the necessary things include preparing our children who are the future of this country, preparing them for the tomorrow that Ghana will face. And we cannot all shut down and close shop because of COVID-19. So we just have to get creative. We have to obey the protocols and do the things that we need to do for our continued existence as a country.
Here's an email that we got in our inbox, and it's quite lengthy. I'll try and go through it very quickly. Sir, my name is Nana Echampongati, a 69-year-old dual citizen at present in Charlottesville, Virginia. Since my retirement 5 years ago, I've spent most of my time in Ghana. I was supposed to be back in Ghana in April 16, but due to the virus, I'm stuck here. At present, I believe Ghana is the safest place to be. Due to the direct flights by South Africa Airways, most Ghanaians, including myself, have always flown with SAA. As such, I bought my return ticket to Ghana in February. Since this repatriation is costing Ghana a lot of money, I'm suggesting that the government talks to the South African government to allow some of us who already have our tickets to Ghana to join the scheduled SAA flight from Washington to Joburg on June 23 and June 25, according to the repatriation portal on your website. I have already done my first COVID test on May 23rd with a negative, and the documentation is available. I'm prepared to go through the necessary protocols to put forth by the government. I don't feel I am safe here and I need to be in Ghana. Can you please pass this on to the authorities for me? And Nanagate is listening to us right now. Would you consider those who have already, for example, bought tickets with the airlines and then add them, they've already paid for it, add them to the pool that is already on its way?
Oh, I think we hear Nanagate loud and clear. We will take the information upstairs, and we are confident that it will be dealt with. But beyond Nanagate, anybody who has any challenges, either internally or externally, we have established a response center, a call center that can assist people, take the information and follow up on their queries. People can call our National Information Contact Center on 311, and they can talk to us, and we will give them guidance, we will give them assistance as to how to proceed. And
what about those who are outside the country and they require those services? Who can they call to ask for help? Well, they can also call the 311 center. It's a 24-hour, so the time differences does not really matter. We don't sleep at the 311 center. The minister ensures that we keep way to take the calls of the people of Ghana, both within and outside of the jurisdiction, so that we can give them the assistance, so they can reach us. You will be able to call us now on 026096960, 026096960, and you can ask the Info Ministry your burning question. Honorable Deputy Minister, since you are here, how is our health minister doing and his family? My understanding, the brief I have, I spoke to my boss, the Honorable Minister for Information, who spoke to the Honorable Minister responsible for health. My understanding is that he's fine, he's not showing symptoms,
Yes, he has tested positive for COVID. The necessary medications have been given. He has been discharged. He's isolating at home. He's fine. Contacts around him have been tested, and the protocols continue. And for now, the Minister for Health is fine in responding to treatment.
I'm asking this question because some have raised the issue, and the President himself did same, of stigmatization, and which has accounted to people's unwillingness to come forward to share their status with others. There are some who think that if public figures like the Health Minister come forward to lead an anti-stigma campaign, that can be more sustainable and make people realize that a positive declaration or a positive test is not the end of the world. Is there a plan to have an anti-stigmatization against persons with or recovered COVID patients?
No, persons who have even recovered already have joined our campaign, and they have been on the platforms of for instance, the Ministry of Information, to testify, to encourage people to speak to us. So it's an ongoing process. It's a shame, in my view, that there's some confusion around the status of the Health Minister. Now the information is public. No less a person than His Excellency the President informed us, and I know that other senior members of states are also publicly declaring. For instance, I've just been informed that the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Selby, has tested positive, and she's put out the information herself.
Right.
And so there's nothing negative about testing positive for COVID. It's not the end of the world.
On that note, I'll let us pick the thoughts of Patience, who is joining us from Kaswa. Hello, Patience. Thank you for your patience.
Hello.
You've been on for a very long time.
Auntie, me pacho, me person me bisa say, me bawo from 3 hour bachelor BEC. Nam paso me PTA meeting aye call no Sunday no. Principal ne so be campaign kwala ni nyina go school ho no for 11 weeks. In person me bisa say, government can say on campaign kwala ni go school mo ho no mo ana. Yes. JHS no bachelor BEC.
Me pacho, JHS, is it a private school or not a public school?
Bachelor private school.
Me pacho.
Yes, one is Zenith International School.
Right. Thank you, Patience. So here is a concerned parent. Their school says they'll keep them for 11 weeks. Is that the directive?
Oh, my understanding is that he says that this is a decision of a PTA, Parent-Teacher Association.
And they were informed by the principal of the school?
No, it should be a discussion, because the private schools are the private schools, and the BE at the lower level, we normally do not run boarding systems at the lower level. And so if this is a private school and the proprietress or proprietor thinks that it's a good thing to maybe keep the students and to ensure that maybe they don't go in and out of school, I think this is not something that he should impose or she should impose.
Because it's a junior high school,
yes.
She said.
So they must have a conversation. There may be some sense in any of the two suggestions.
Right.
No, don't keep them, yes, keep
but
them.
Is that allowed by the government for... have you made room for private schools to say, you know what, bring JHS students? Is it allowed as the protocol stands now?
I'm not aware that at the lower level, the government has instructed any schools to keep students.
Right.
And what if they don't run boarding facilities? Where are they intending to keep the students?
Good point. So Jonas is joining us from Awoshi. Jonas, thanks for calling in. What's your question or comment for the minister?
Thank you. My question is, we have students who are in single track schools. And now, those who are in double track, the gold are going to school. I want to ask, those who are in single track, are the second year students also to go to school, or they have to still wait?
Right. Thank you, Jonas. So there's a gold track and a green track. Only one track is going to school with the final year students, or is it the two tracks together? That was the question.
My understanding of his question is that it's not all schools that are doing double track. In fact, some
are only single track
that have started with the double track because of the rapid infrastructure that we are putting in. Some of them have already even started dropping the double track. We hope that within the next few years we should drop double track completely. So now there are some schools that are also single track. There's just one track. So
and there's some that have only single track for Form 2s. So what happens to those Form 2 students? Are they going back or are they staying home? They don't have gold or green.
If you are a single track,
second year, you're staying home.
You are at home. You are not part of the people who go.
Right.
The reason why the gold track is going is that they have some backlog they have to clear. So that's why they have to go. But the single track, they don't have that situation.
I want us to focus briefly on the vaccines and the treatment options. Noguchi is telling us that there is progress or there's some promise of some sort. What exactly is happening on that front? Are we seeing more promise? Because today on the international front, we hear that some clinicals have started elsewhere.
Yes, we are advised, we have noticed that clinicals have started and the world has been busy trying to find a vaccine and a cure. We are watching keenly. We are in close contact with international health organizations through the African Contagious Disease Centers, for instance, the ACDC, the WHO is critical in all of this. As and when the world, through WHO, confirms a cure or a vaccine, Ghana will be too ready and too eager and too quick to get these medications for our people.
Ama, you're joining us from Kumasi, Akwaba.
Yeah, Anna.
What's your question for the minister?
If I show me first school Kumasi girls, I'm a go track student.
Me pacho koso.
If I show me, I say I'm here co-boarding. My catch me mommy. My mommy say on Tuesday co-boarding.
So what's your question?
I'm passing a co-boarding number. Maybe a student.
Okay. Thank you, Ama. So Ama's mother does not believe they are being put in boarding houses, and so she wants to ask if it's true. She's a gold track student.
Ama
and a day student.
Se umami ben TV na pachoti en catching se on tie ha ye pa ane yesi call boarding day students ya mu kono yempese mu bedi akonyaba sa ante no mu de yesi mu mbra boarding aban na afa hoka yama mpanyin behwe se odidie ni bibia no wono a ebehwe na wahwe wo kama ne hia ne se wo kusku a eyiri wo na sua de social no ba na de papa bi efri mu aba enti no kache momi se yampa se o mampanyin ejisa adesua no efri ne so.
Okay, this one says on our WhatsApp, ask the minister when Mr. President will be opening air cargo. Since you made us aware that transmission is from person to person, most of our businesses depend on air cargo and we are losing lots of money because the air flights are grounded.
No, air cargo, cargo flights are not affected by the imposition of restrictions. And you know, human flights cannot come in, but cargo flights can come in. Cargo ships can come in.
Right.
And even cargo trucks can also come in.
Jessica is joining us from Ablekuma, if I can hear you correctly. Welcome to #Ask the Info Ministry.
Yes, hello.
Yes, thanks for joining us. What's your question or comment for the Deputy Minister?
My question is really simple. Actually, my brother is a medical student. Good evening.
I think you'll have to turn down the volume on your TV sets because you are hearing us and we can also hear you doubly. As you do that,
my brother is a medical student in level 300. Yes, and just.
I think that caller is giving us some issues. This one says some universities are yet to get PPEs. SHS PPEs should be ready in schools, but I doubt if these items will be there by Monday. Any assurance from government?
Maybe if he gave us the name of the universities, because like I reported to you, we have dispatched PPEs to all tertiary institutions, and so they should have received. So if he can advise us as to which institution has not, we can follow it up.
Okay.
But I'm not sure that.
And here's another one. The Honorable Minister Kojo Nkrumah in the first week of May read a release on behalf of the receiver about the payment of funds to customers of defunct savings and loans banks by the end of May. However, the month of May has ended and in half June, but nothing so far. So can you get the receiver to speak on this subject on Thursday at your press briefing? Things are hard.
We take note of the feedback. I would inform the minister accordingly.
Right. William is joining us from Kofodia, and William will be our final caller for today. Welcome to #AskTheInfo Ministry.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Very well. Please go ahead with your question or comment.
Okay, my problem is the private school teachers. We haven't heard anything from the government, and it's very, very, very unfortunate for us. We are really suffering, and we want to hear what the government have for us, because they are telling us to go for this COVID-19 alleviation fund, and such things, when you go for it, we have to use it to work. And here, like the case, the schools are not in session now, so we beg the government to.
All right, point well made. So what's the plan to alleviate the plight of people like our caller who find themselves in this position?
Well, I don't have any briefs at this moment on what the government is doing for individual Ghanaians, be they private teachers, be they private security staff, be they private hotel workers, and so on. And it's not just private teachers that are within the employment spectrum in this country. There are myriad of sectors that employ millions of people. And so if I do get a brief on the situation of handing out stipends to the generality of the public, I can speak to it. I don't have
And
any.
very quickly, before you go, last week we are told that we have to turn our diversity into an opportunity. So we have to benefit from what coronavirus has presented us as a country. Someone will ask, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Can anything good come out of COVID?
Of course. It's all about leadership. And you see that even before COVID came, the president's vision of one district, one factory, for instance, is now justified. And now people believe that if we had started off earlier and we were able to produce some of the things that we used to import. Today, you go to Nsawam prison, there's a one district, one factory within the Nsawam prison producing tissue. And we are not importing tissue again. Now the borders, most countries have closed their borders. If we were not producing tissues, for instance, in Ghana, where will we be getting tissues from?
There's someone who is very desperate to get in touch with us. Hello, welcome to #AskTheInfo Ministry. Let's hear what you have to say quickly and then we wrap.
Okay, please. The minister just said Ghana is looking keenly to the outside country to make a vaccine. So I want to ask him, what is Ghana actually doing for us to get a vaccine? Because it's like we are with the WHO or the outside world to make a vaccine before we are going to buy it. So what is Ghana itself doing to get the vaccine and to cure our people? So I want the minister to answer this question for me.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
I think that's an important question. The impression I sought to create was not that Ghana cannot. In fact, if you notice, our research center here, Noguchi, started off by doing the genomic sequencing of the virus. And when the president spoke about this, he was excited. We are giving all the support to our research institutions to even produce, if they can, and we want them to produce a vaccine. That will be, it will make us, it will be very excited. We are working, for instance, on the RDT test kits already. And so the research institutions have our support as a country. But I'm saying that we will not say that because we didn't produce the vaccine or cure, when it is produced elsewhere and the people of Ghana need it, we will not get it. That's what I said, or that's what I meant to say. I'm not saying that we are not working at producing the vaccines ourselves. Our research institutions continue to do their bit, and we are supporting them and hoping and praying that they maybe can lead in getting the vaccine.
Honorable Deputy Minister for Information, Pius Hajide, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for spending time to join us, watch this program and send your questions and comments. Jonathan Intim Darko has been translating this package into sign language. My name is Thelma Taki, and as you go out there, as we always say, be safe and see you same time next week. Bye for now.